Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Fix My Fees podcast, where merchant services is so boring. I bring on interesting people, pick their brain about their business, and hopefully you guys can learn a thing or two. I'm your host, Tavius, and today we have someone who I consider like a revenue operations expert. He's the president of the Insight Studio. And although he does specialize with really helping businesses, B2B, like service firms and insurance agencies, the fact that a majority of our audience in some way, shape, or form is dealing with CRMs and systems in different ways. And usually that's where the clutter, lost revenue, lost income, lost time, and efficiency is really a bottleneck in the majority of people's businesses. I wanted to have him come in and kind of talk about what it's like to build those data systems and sales processes so that you can have like your teams working at optimum performance. So without further ado, let's bring in the revenue operations we're Andrew Schulz. How you doing today, Andrew?
Good, Tavius. Thanks for having me. And you've overstated my skill set potentially. So we'll try to make sure to have everybody walk away with one nugget or two when it comes to managing data, working with teams, working with CRMs. And the old joke is, you know what an expert is, right, Tavius?
What's an expert?
Third letter from the end of the alphabet and just a little bit of water. So instead of just being an expert, today, I think what we'll be is continual learners. And that's one of the themes that I think helps myself and helps the teams I work with leverage, whether it's HubSpot as a technology or any other CRM or technology to help their business grow, right? Always being lean and agile and trying to learn along the way.
Yeah, because I definitely saw that you were helping with things like cleaning up the portals and something that I completely forgot about, like the word data hygiene and like how that all comes together. So when you're working with what are you doing on a day-to-day basis normally?
Yeah. And even before that, maybe just first to further introduce myself, I am Andrew Schulz, the president and owner of the Insight Studio. We were founded over 7 years ago with my co-founder, Steph Sample, to help people leverage people to create outcomes for themselves. And in the middle of the people helping people play, we found the alignment of sales and marketing, which is revenue operations. And to power our revenue operations, we've found the tool in our toolbox specifically is HubSpot. So at the Insight Studio, we are HubSpot CRM experts who leverage your website, your SEO, now your AEO, email, text messaging, social, traditional ad spend, and so much more to, again, be in that nexus of marketing and sales to create revenue for your business. And year 7+, and it's very fun. And we've been able to work with companies of all different sizes, individuals, startups, and industries across the board. And as you said, I've definitely been refining my focus more into that B2B space. But we started helping entrepreneurs, right? Individuals with an idea, how to bring that idea to market. And HubSpot as a CRM, their business ethos started with that as well. Their focus and target was SMB, small to medium-sized businesses. But as they mature as a company and us partners mature with them, we're definitely getting into the larger enterprise level food chain and really into the end of the sales and marketing alignment journey, which is billing, CPQ, right? Invoicing, retaining customers, and to what you do, managing credit card payments and credit card processing fees and so much more. So it's a really cool evolution of the business. And yeah, it's been a wiggly path to get to where we're at, but we're still learning, right? We're still agile.
How did you even decide that this was the route or, what you wanted to get into? Because obviously there could be so many different ways that you could have just even thought of this or even route you could have went as you're building it up. But what was the first thing that made you say, you know what, this is a gap that I'm going to leverage HubSpot to fill?
So first of all, I was until my nephew just graduated. I was the first in my family to have a college degree. So first generation college graduate. And it was a pretty incredible feeling to know that. But secondarily, I was a non-traditional student. I had tried college in my youth at 18, 19, like most people, and it didn't fit. And I actually spent the last 13 years before college in Alaska as a U.S. Coast Guard captain to be able to guide fishing. So I've been a fishing guide in Southeast Alaska, and I was a chef there before that. The entire time, coincidentally or maybe not, I'd been using a little tool called HubSpot for free to do my Christmas cards to all my clients, to stay in contact with all those people that I was guiding as a fishing guide, but I knew relationships and people were it. And I was good at doing that in person, but I was terrible about sending you a follow-up Christmas card or whatever. So even in the beginning, years ago, I leveraged HubSpot for my own interpersonal relationship gap that I had. The gap that I had was, hey, I'm great at talking to you, but as soon as you leave, I have to talk to the next person. How do I keep that relationship going? So fast forward 13 plus years, I'm a 30-year-old college freshman in Missoula, Montana, the University of Montana, go Grizz. And what is it? Missoula at the time was in 2018, was one of the leaders when it came to Salesforce consulting and Salesforce CRM implementation for enterprise level organizations. A company called ATG was actually purchased by Cognizant, which is a publicly traded company. And they took 250 plus employees in Missoula and brought them into a global company to implement Salesforce's CRM tools. So 2018 is when I graduate from the University of Montana with a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration and in the information technology space, which is exactly what all of my classmates needed to go become Salesforce consultants. Well, the whole time I've been using HubSpot, and I am interning at a venture capital firm working with 16 really small portfolio companies implementing HubSpot to help their startups grow. And this woman named Steph Sample comes into the office one day and we have a talk and a discussion about HubSpot and proposes that we start this agency together. She and I had identified the gap of there is a huge amount of support. The Salesforce Trailblazers, the company ATG, the company Cognizant to help enterprise level organizations leverage Salesforce for growth. But what was there to leverage HubSpot for growth? Little did we know there was quite a successful partner program already in existence, one that I am proud to be a member of. And you can kind of see that I'm a Platinum Solutions Partner, and I'm happy to always tout my partnership with HubSpot for growth. And like I said, 7 years, we're looking back at 150 plus happy clients, 7 primary industries served, and thousands of team members kind of mentored and coached to a place where they are becoming HubSpot experts as well. And that's really where I think it's really fun, Tavius, to say you're scared of technology or you have a current process and you're an old dog and you don't want to learn any new tricks. And instead we say, man, what about just changing the doghouse a little bit? And you can keep playing with those same tricks, but we're going to give you an accelerated path so you can do less and do more of what you like. And that's where I really like to help people be able to have better conversations, right? Deeper conversations with the right people at the right time to create the right outcome. And that is like the true core and ethos of what we try to do is identify the roles and the playbooks and the actions to create that revenue, right? And to keep it ongoing. So it's been quite a journey, from killing fish to killing Excel spreadsheets.
So from your standpoint, with there being so many other avenues that people are attached to, right? Salesforce, Go High Level, ClickFunnels, like we can name them for days. Is there something that you feel like HubSpot inherently does better that gives them the edge for what you're doing? Or is there just a reasoning in the way that it flows that feels more natural to you?
So I think in the beginning, HubSpot's UX UI was much better than Salesforce's, right? For Salesforce specifically, you have to be a developer to make changes on the front end or back end. Now with natural language processing and AI, you don't have to be a developer. You can actually just ask Claude and it can make the change in Salesforce. So I'm hearing from a lot of teams that bridge is being gapped comparatively to Go High Level or Pardot or any ClickFunnels. I would actually say that the commonality across the board is the strategy and the ethos, right? Like, who is that customer? What is that product market fit that you have? And why should they care about you versus someone else? And whether it's personality, whether it's price, it's a 4 P's of marketing, right? Product, price, place, and promotion. It's one of those 4 or a conjuncture of those that makes you typically win in the buyer's journey or sales cycle. So with HubSpot, specifically HubSpot targeted startup organizations and said, hey, we will give you a screaming deal on this $15,000 tool that we know is a Ferrari, but you don't have time or money to drive it. We're going to give it to you for a discounted rate because we know as a startup, you're going to scale at such a rapid rate that you are going to team up and employee up to the point where you will be able to leverage this technology and tool. So it's very sticky, and it also helps people when they need it. Right? In the early stages of startups that are looking to scale and grow exponentially, they need to be able to leverage marketing and sales automation tools to create downstream revenue. And so I think HubSpot's a good fit for that. That being said, any tool is good. Any tool, any hammer you hang works as long as you know how to swing it. And that is where I think teams like myself and yourself, we come in to say, listen, what are you doing? Help us understand the current process so we can optimize your current process and then implement new changes to offset those changes to make it even better. And that's where, again, HubSpot has that growth mindset where they say, hey, what's your biggest problem right now? Is it leads? Maybe we need to focus on your SEO and your AEO, your inbound lead. Is it lead conversion? Well, maybe we need to look at your funnel and your deal pipelining, your deal stages. Is it customer satisfaction? We should look at creating a ticketing system and talking to your current customers and getting feedback scores and NSATs and CSATs and getting net promoter scores and understanding how your customer health is. Oh, is it revenue? Are you having a problem with that checkout and you're getting a lot of abandoned carts, or maybe you're getting the wrong payment info and you can't process those fees? Let's implement Revenue Hub, where the tool helps you with all that. So it's really interesting where they've created this holistic system, literally from and apologies for the terrible analogy, but from cradle to grave for a customer's lifecycle journey to say, hey, stranger, are you interested? Hey, stranger, let's be friends. Hey, friend, give me some of your money. Hey, friend that pays me, let's make that a recurring process, right? Hey, friend, how are we doing? And you can say at any one of those points, that's where we want to start our journey to optimize our business. Or we say, hey, holistically, let's rip and replace everything you have and replace it with HubSpot because we know that you can do that, right? And you can go, instead of going fast, you go rocket ship. And so it's cool in that way because even with, say, one industry, insurance, I could have 4 different inception points, right? Inception point 1, the company is doing a major digital transformation and wants HubSpot for everything. Hey, insurance company 2 just wants their customer service to be easier. Right? So we do Ticket Hub. Option 3, they don't get enough leads and we want to fix their website and fix their ads. That's a Marketing Hub play, right? Or it's like option 4, they want to do data transformation and connect with a third-party tool and push and pull. When I think of insurance specifically, they want to push and pull like your car insurance policy premium info so they can do downstream marketing automation. Any one of those 4 could be the way we start a journey and a conversation, or all 4 together could be the way that we help your insurance company grow. But insert company X, Y, or Z, right? Depending on industry, depending on focus, finding that opportunity that they may already know, but they're scared of how do we make that change, right? And being that player coach, hey, we build things for you and then we're going to coach you on how to do it. And then we do it together. That typically is what I find is the most successful because it's like you buy a Ferrari, you don't know how to drive it. Okay. And then you go take a driving course and someone teaches you it's a little bit better. But what if you have like 4 weeks of ongoing driving courses where the person meets you at your house and you drive your neighborhood, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, you really know what you're doing, right? Because you've had that long-term phased approach, and we can all, it's a long time ago for you and me, Tavius, but like, well, when we got our driver's ed licenses, right? Like it was a phased approach where you had to drive with mom and dad or your uncle, and you had to drive with the instructor before we let you on the road. And the CRM world is like, hey, they'll just give you the Ferrari and let you on the Autobahn. And it's like the Autobahn is dangerous if you don't know what you're doing.
Right. And where do you see, like, well, I guess from your experience, as you're starting to dive in, I shouldn't say where, how inefficient are most teams when it comes to their CRM management?
You know, it's such a gradient and sliding scale. I would say most teams, if you have technology and you're using it badly, what that usually means is you're doing just fine. C's get degrees is what I think about, is like people are doing the least possible to still get the data to issue the invoice. You know, they're getting your first name, last name, they're getting your email, they're getting your billing address, but it's that contextual information that can create scalable growth that sales reps lock in their heads, or that like BDRs or AEs keep in a Google sheet outside of CRM. And so the ability to say, no, we have this holistic central repository, it really helps people adopt. And so I would say people that have, so let's just say with HubSpot, you have HubSpot and you use it badly, you're typically still doing okay, right? You're probably doing just fine until the C-suite executives come to you as a BDR and say, how are you actually doing? And then you either can't generate the report, or the report shows that you've done no calls, no meetings, and no emails in the last 30 days. Well, then there's probably some trouble. And then you're like, well, is it because my calling, emailing, texting tool isn't connected, or have I been just out to lunch all month? Like, that's where the rubber really hits the road. Now, if you don't have any technology, here's the other side. If you don't have any technology, you actually probably do. And that's where I always tell teams, like, hey, pat yourself on the back a little bit, because you're using Excel like a high-end programmer. And a lot of teams are using Excel with crazy tabs and VLOOKUPs and all this stuff that is so easily transferable into a CRM and into a technology to help you manage your sales and marketing operations together, because it's that same logic, right? And so I tell teams, like, hey, if you're not using technology, show me your Rolodex, right? Because I've actually worked with teams, Tavius, where the guy was like, hey, I'm going to take a photo of my Rolodex. And he would take photos as he turned the Rolodex. And I was able to build a HubSpot hub from those photos from his Rolodex, because it had the same information, right? Person's name, person's address, last time I talked, what they're interested in, their wife's name. Did I buy or sell? You know, it's just like, and people it's interesting. Everyone has something in the way that they communicate. And that's where that player coach role. Sometimes I'm the player trying to build the thing, but sometimes I'm the coach trying to just figure out how you're currently doing it so we can either augment it or optimize it. So I say most people are doing a pretty okay job, right? And it's based on leadership. When I have CEO or executive management or leadership teams that come to me and they're like, hey, I'm in HubSpot every day. I don't know why my team isn't. Can you help them get there? That's usually a much better adoption versus the guy that's like, hey, I will never check on you and I'll never check on my team, but make sure they're using it well and I'm making more money quarter over quarter. That team usually does less good, you know, versus the team that's like, hey, my boss just left me a note on the new lead that came in and he wondered why I haven't called him yet. And I was about to call him, but then I got his note. They're like, I'm going to jump, right? The concept I think of there, Tavius, is steel sharpens steel. You know, like if you have someone that has a very clear understanding of what they want from themselves, from their team, from their organization, then it's easier for me to hold that entire team accountable. I think of the KPI, right? The key performance indicators. If you can suss those out of a company or a business too, it's really easy to then build a process based on those KPIs to be measured, which turns into feedback. Hey, you're doing well and you're not. I want to know how I'm doing. Most people do, right?
Yeah, and that's why they create these dashboards and data so that they can have it. But I don't think people are optimizing, it enough. What do you feel like most people miss or don't understand enough of when it comes to like optimizing or even just using it efficiently at the foundation if that's where they mess up? Like, where do you feel like people lose it at?
Yeah, a lot of times like the foundational thing I see people missing a lot is just the connection of the contact to the company to the deal. I'll come into CRMs a lot and I'll click into a deal pipeline and I will see deal with Tavius and the deal name is deal with Tavius and the deal info is $1,000 and the deal close date's at the end of July and the deal next step. That's the second thing that's usually missing is what is the next step? But let's stay on this first piece.
Right.
Deal with Tavius. But I'm like, who's Tavius? And in HubSpot and in most CRMs, the object deal is associated to an object contact and an object company. So I could say, here's the 10 deals I have with Tavius. Here's the most recent deal. Here's the oldest deal. But a lot of teams, I think it's kind of like an Excel spreadsheet where it's a single pane of glass. You just see the deal. You're like, it's Tavius's deal. You're like, whatever. And that's where I try to train teams where I'm like, there's power in separating these foundational objects, Andrew, the contact, his company, the Insight Studio, and the deal he has with Tavius. Right? Because that's how you can then separate, well, how many deals and where do they come from? And what are the highest quality deals? And what are this is when we're getting very sophisticated. And again, a lot of companies don't need that level of sophistication. So it's always like that crawl, walk, run mentality. That's a running phase when you're analyzing things that deeply, but you still need to know the deal and the person you're selling it to. So I think that's the biggest first thing that I see people missing is just really confirming what you're selling, who you're selling it to, and like how many times. So separating the contact company and deal, but having them associated on those activities. Simple to me, but it's like complex when you talk to people about it and you have to really hammer it. You're like, Andrew, the contact, Andrew's company, the Insight Studio. deal 1 with Tavius, deal 2, and then once they see it, they're like, oh, you have different deals with the same guy, or you have different deals with the same company with different people because they have different labels for their job title, right? I sold a marketing deal to the marketing team, a sales deal to the sales team, that sort of thing. And you can get a lot of really good data to help your company grow. But if you don't measure it, it doesn't exist. So that's the first thing. The second thing I mentioned, I kind of buried the lead earlier, next step, right? Next step. There's always a next step in everything forever. Right? We know this, you know this, I know this, everyone knows it. What's the next step? Even if the next step is confirm next step, that's a next step. Confirm next step means get on a call again, further confirm your product market fit, your budget authority, timeline and need, confirm the timeline, confirm if their wife's still sick. I don't know what it is. There's a reason for it and you need to figure it out and set the next step. So I urge everyone listening on your CRM, whether on your deal object or your contact object, either in the notes or a custom property, next step, and make it required after every action. I want to know, what's your next step? Cause then same thing, we can kind of zoom out and say, interesting. 90% of the time after an initial qualifying call, next step is second qualifying call, or book a meeting, go book a meeting. It's like, well, we can automate that stuff or we can learn from that. So again, if you don't measure it, we don't know how it works. So we can't optimize it. Let's see here. There's lots of things I think about.
Well, what about in terms of like salespeople? Because salespeople drive a lot of the revenue and some of the most inefficient people at the same time, right? Because the person who's talking the most on the phones is probably usually making the money, right? Doing the most outreaches, talking to most people. But also at the same time, those are usually, I'm raising my hand for this for my record, the worst when it comes to CRM management, putting next steps and keeping those things because they're talkers, not organized people. So how do you leverage that to help those people who stay more in tune with doing the thing that makes the money without getting caught in the weeds? Because we know how easy they can get caught in that.
Yeah. Yeah. In that case, it's all about like that connection, and the way that we try to typically architect and build a solution out is that your actions, whether it's on the phone, whether it's on your email, whether it's in a meeting, that those actions are tracked inside of CRM, right? And then those actions based on the temperature of that action, right? Good call, good meeting, good email, positive, negative, or indifferent. We try to automate some of these downstream actions. Cause what I like to have the sales reps do is like, I have a rep typically reverse demo to me their day. Right. And once that rep reverse demos, I'm like, oh, great. So you have that initial call and then you go to your calendar and you just book time later in the day to like process their paperwork. And then, based on that paperwork processing, you're going to email them and then that's going to come back to you. And then based on them and their response, you might have to do another email or the deal's done and you can close it. And I'm like, okay, great. I then take that information and work backwards into the CRM and say, okay, automate, right? Once you're on that call, I say, how are you calling them? Oh, it's Google Voice or it's your personal cell phone. I try to connect that calling system so then you can have a call outcome or a meeting outcome. So you can say based on and call type as well. You can say, this is an initial call. This is a secondary call. This is the tertiary call. And then based on that matrices of call type and call outcome, you can say if X, then Y. If call type is initial call and call outcome is positive, create deal. It automates creating a deal and creates a task and automates 80% of that email with the paperwork. So you just get a task auto created to finish instead of going to your email and booking time for yourself and doing the work later. All of that's gone. And now all of a sudden you have a task for yourself to complete with all that information. So you just go in and get the work done. So your actions create the next action as well. And again, that is the brass ring. That is the most sophisticated version of it. The crawl version is literally getting it all connected. So I can say, hey, you never again have to like copy and paste an email and paste it, or copy and paste a call note and put it into the tool. It just lives there. Because with sales reps that are the most closers, least inefficient, you gotta sell them. Right? You got to sell a sales rep on using the tool. And once you do that though, they become like lions, right? They become scary because then all of a sudden I'm getting a Slack message at 9 p.m. because the lead's trying to reach out to the rep's trying to reach out to a lead and they want more info because they're in HubSpot right now. You know what I mean? So it's very interesting. And I've seen that psychological switch of like, I don't want to use a new tool. Andrew, I know my boss hired you to coach me. I don't want to be a part of it. I have to be here, right? To all of a sudden they want me. They need my time because they're using it to the point where they have questions that are way beyond the crawl walk. And that, yeah, it's really, and I tell other reps that too. When I meet a new sales rep, I'm like, dude or dudette, I get it. I get that you don't want to do this, or maybe you have reluctance. I just worked with Jerry and she crushed it. Like, let me tell you about Jerry. So that it's cool to have those kind of stories and those at bats to mitigate people's concern, but it's also just reality. It's just like, dude, if you take your vitamins and you exercise, you're going to be healthier. I am just literally the person that's like, here's the vitamins, here's the exercise, and I'm doing it next to you here because I got to get it done. Your boss told me this needs to be done, but you're the stud. You're the athlete that I'm dragging along until you're outpacing me. And I tell you, like 8 times out of 10, people outpace me within 6 weeks, which is awesome. And now HubSpot's baked in. So last September, they rebuilt their entire code base with AI first. Inside of HubSpot, on the right-hand side, it's called the Breeze Assistant. It is natural language processing for CRM tasking. So it's like, help me build a workflow to market, help me build a list of all my newest leads, help me analyze my lead flow. How do I get better quality leads? The tool will actually analyze all the data in CRM, look into the internet for other best practices, and then give you an answer and a solution, just like ChatGPT, just like Claude, but it's baked in with your own data and system. It's a locked LLM in that way. So it's like the more you feed into your CRM, the more contact company deal data, the better answers you get from the questions because it can really contextualize what you're trying to do.
Got it. I know you started,
pretty exciting.
Yeah, I know you started talking a little bit about the people you've worked with and how you've seen a little bit of those results. Can you walk us through one of ones that kind of stick out to you? It doesn't have to be your biggest success. The one that kind of like, man, this is why I'm doing it. Do you have a case study or a testimonial of like how you worked with someone and the outcome at the end of it?
Yeah, I mean, what's cool is I have a ton of them, and I can think of tons and tons of outcomes. And we can start with insurance just because it's a really easy top of mind one. This is one where I could say across the board, like which hub and which problem, because they did holistically rip and replace everything. So let's just start with website. They had a Squarespace website and they were getting like 1 to 2 leads a week. We bumped that 10x. Right? Literally 10 leads a week instead of 1 to 2. And all we did was we took their existing website. We changed nothing, but we optimized the H1s and the meta descriptions and the meta tags. And we just literally, I call it the blocking and tackling, the not sexy, boring, but very, very focused pieces when it comes to SEO and now AEO as well. The structure of your website, the site tag, the way it flows. So insurance company X has an okay website, but needs more leads and is wondering how they can do it. By optimizing their existing website, we were able to 10x their leads. Now, I'm not sure about lead quality, by the way, and that is something we address later as well, but we 10x the amount of leads and the amount of traffic that their website saw within 90 days. And most people out there that know SEO, it's a 1 to 2 year play, right? Yep. 1 to 2 years. And 2 years later, they're doing very well as well, but it's because they've kept up with what we did, right? Structured topic clusters, meaning they had a core problem. Help me with my car insurance, Montana. Help me with my homeowner's insurance, Missoula, Montana. Help me with my investment brokerage account, Montana, right? Like very long-tailed focused keywords and pages. And then the teams write a blog a week, every person on their team, about a specific core topic or keyword, because they know from an SEO and an AEO perspective, additional long-tailed queries that speak towards that primary search topic are going to increase traffic. So that's one that I'm really proud of. And there's a ton of them like that. I think of a couple nonprofits. There's a couple different foundations in Arizona that I work with, and same thing, low performing websites. These teams work on donations. With one of them, we were able to, not quite double their amount of donations, but we definitely increased their donation amount year over year, which means more kids are able to get diapers, shoes, access to medical help and mental health support. So it's like, it's pretty impressive, and it feels really good. And I'll talk about one specifically then really quick, Tavius, because I love this guy. Brian Ware in Southern California. He has a company called the Crayon Initiative. So I'm in Montana. I go into my local pizza parlor and there's a box on the wall and it's the Crayon Initiative. You can donate money, But what they really want is for you to put your crayons in there and they melt them down and they turn them back into crayons and they give them to children's hospitals. That is the inception point. That's so cool. That is the inception point. Dude, it's amazing, right? And so like you look in your local restaurant, you might see it, the Crayon Initiative, and they're just incredible. That is obviously the tip of the spear. Like give us your crayons and it turns into giving us donations because they need money to support these children's hospital things. But it's really, really cool. And so with Brian, and I've worked on and off with him for years and years, he has a yearly golf event. And 2 years ago was the last time he did it. And he's doing it again this year in Southern California. I know he's using the marketing automation tools that I gave him. So this is a marketing play, right? Where we use marketing email automation and segmented lists to create targeted messages to try to get more attendees to the golf event, to try to get more donors to the golf event, and eventually more money for the children's and the children's hospitals. So it's like, man, it's a good why. It's a really cool use of the tool. And I know work I did years ago is still working because I just got the email about the golf event. And I'm like, hey, I remember building a template of that golf event years ago. So I trained someone on their team or the videos I made worked and someone else picked it up and they're still using it. And then I get an email. I'm like, well, that's really cool. So we talked about a marketing example. We talked about an SEO example from a sales perspective. I'll give you one here really quick as well. Years ago now, not one of my first clients, but an early client. They were like an oil processing company of some sort in Houston, Texas. They literally sold the pipe or the big connectors. Yeah. And they had a huge group of sales teams, old guys that were in trucks. They were always in their truck and they're always texting their clients. These are the project requirements, right? They're always on the go. They're always texting their clients. They do not use any technology to track deals. And these are $1 million deals. They're like writing them down. And so with this team, and it was over the course of about 6 months because I really needed to learn their process, every person on their team ended up with an iPad in that truck. The iPad tracked their location so they could optimize their routes for delivery. The iPad gave them an easy way to, and we created just a simple form, Tavius, that said, insert client name, insert client email, insert client project, and insert client next step, like 4 questions, because Andrew has 4 projects. He's put Andrew's email in 4 times. That auto-created deals on the back end in HubSpot, put them at the correct date, set the correct next step. So the C-suite executives could say, wow, Tavius is selling 40 deals every week and Andrew's only selling 2. But it's interesting, Andrew's 2 deals are equal to Tavius's 40. Why are we paying them the same? Why are they working the same amount? Let's talk about that, right? And they could understand deal size, deal flow, performance of sales reps. But it really helped the sales reps also because those dudes, and they were predominant men, white men in the South selling oil stuff. Like, it was so funny. They were like, Andrew, I don't want to talk to you. Southern accent. And I'm just like, we're going to be friends. I was like, let's talk about, it was fishing too. I remember one of the guys, I saw something in his background. It was a bass fishing, like something. And so we started talking about fishing. And then every time I talked about technology, it was a fishing analogy. It was like, I could leverage a fishing analogy. And the guy was like, oh, I get that, better bait. I was like, oh, better bait. Or like, what about having a faster boat? Oh, faster boat. What about having better depth finders so you can see the fish better? It's like, wait, what? So depth finders see the fish better. Yeah, that analogy is a lead scoring process in HubSpot where I can identify the minnows versus the whales. And then I literally did that in CRM where like you'd come in, Tavius, and based on the info we know and the info you told us, I would put a whale or a minnow on your contact record. And the guy loved it. He's like, I love going whale hunting, and it's just like, finding yeah. And then like what that did was he identified higher quality leads faster and closed higher revenue deals at a higher rate because he didn't know he'd been focusing on minnows. He didn't know it. No one knew it. No one measured it. He was just working. He's just working, right? Just checking the boxes. And that's great. You have to do that. You have to block and tackle. But this is where you can put a layer of sophistication on it so you can hit harder, drive your boat faster, right?
I like that. I like how like you gave the different sections, different parts of the business where, you have some case studies to enhance it. But I like how in each one of those, you had to kind of meet them where they are and move them up. You didn't try to force them to the top capacity as fast as possible, which a lot of people do, which is why people get so discouraged really quickly. You know what? I'm just going to keep doing it my way. This is too much.
Yeah.
You're meeting them You're showing them, you're even using lingo that they can understand to get them captivated, because once they're hooked, right? Because it makes their life easier. It makes them more money, right? It makes them more efficient. Anything that can help you be more efficient or make more money, you're going to get addicted to and kind of use more often.
Yep, exactly right. So yeah, it's been in that way helping teams do what they're already doing, but doing more of it, right? And doing it more efficiently. So it's a great tool, but again, I would tell your audience, like, any tool is good, right? Leverage it. Really understand what you want out of it. Write that down, right? Write your process down. I like to use whiteboards. I like to work with teams. Sticky notes help with this a lot too, because you can put a sticky note and you're like, oh yeah, next step, until it becomes a mental shortcut, a heuristic. They no longer need to remember it. But people are you have to train, right? And it's a muscle. Your brain's a muscle too, just like the rest of your body. And it's only as good as how you train it. And same with your business and business process, right? And every business owner knows they could do more. And it seems like right now is that moment with natural language processing and with Claude and other AI tools. You can put in a little bit more time and get a lot more out. And that's where I would challenge everyone to just try, learn a little more, play with some tools. That's what I'm doing. I have another tab open with Claude, Copilot, with all the Perplexity, all these other tools to just see what other teams are using, because I want to, again, always be at the tip of the spear when it comes to the newest technologies, but still have just a fount of knowledge when it comes to literally how do you talk to the person? Tell me more about the form, like the simplest things that people are skipping. Because a lot of people are skipping and going straight to the fancy AI stuff, and they don't need to, right? Like, you definitely use it, definitely try to empower yourself, but do you know how it works? Do you know why your customers love you? Do you know your top 5 customers? Do you know your next step?
Yeah, I've been partial to Gemini a lot lately in their studio and their notebook. Been having so much fun with my ADHD, being able to dump into different programs where my idea is, and then like leveraging that. I haven't started leveraging it, but I can imagine what can happen if you can start to leverage that with CRMs and things like that of that nature. But for you, if someone's like listening to you right now and they're like, I don't know if I should work with you, or maybe I should or shouldn't reach out to you, who is that ideal audience? How can they reach out to you, and what can they expect working with you, if you can give them a little bit of what you would do with it?
So forever, the book of business and the people we predominantly worked with, I would say it's maybe 60% now. It used to be 80 plus. You had HubSpot and you use it badly, right? Or you just got hired into the role and they have HubSpot and you're like, what am I going to do? You've inherited a HubSpot account. Any of those people, I do audits, and I'll do free audits, Tavius, for some, like, let's say 5 or 10 people in your audience, and we'll see how many people are interested. But typically an audit is $1,000. It's about 8 to 10 of my hours, billable hours, where I go through your CRM and I understand who's who in the zoo. I go through your contacts, companies, and deals. I understand if they're connected or not. I look at your SEO and your AEO. How are your leads performing? I ask a lot of questions so I can understand where can we achieve quick wins, and then where can we establish medium and long-term priorities that are going to create revenue, right? In the long term and short term, hopefully. So I would say anybody that has HubSpot and uses it badly, let's do an audit. You have nothing to fear. And I can do a free website and SEO, AEO audit as well. Those are like all part of that system. You're going to understand how you're doing currently and how you could be doing better. The outcome of that audit is like a laundry list. Here's 4 quick wins that you can do right now. You should go do, versus here's 5 to 6 medium to long-term priorities. I think any business owner should be doing that on a regular basis, auditing your sales process, auditing your marketing process, auditing your website. Because if you don't know how it's performing, nobody else can see it either, or it's performing badly. Weird things, broken links, weird emails, you never know. So audits. For the other half of the audience that doesn't have HubSpot, but maybe has, or say, let's break it into thirds. For the second third of the audience that has some other CRM, and they're like, I don't use it, I don't like it, maybe I want HubSpot. I actually have a web page for this. Why go HubSpot? theinsightstudio.com/why go HubSpot. And I can put that link in the chat or whatever, Tavius. But the idea there is we know that HubSpot, among all the CRMs in the ecosystem, Pardot, Marketo, Salesforce, everything, it performs at a higher rate for the majority of customers. And there's a statistic I love to throw out here. 50% of CRM implementations fail. Every other CRM. So Tavius, in your business, you bought Go High Level. and you used it and you liked it, but you quit using it, game over. And then about 2 months, 3 months later, you're like, man, I'm going to build my own with Claude or with Gemini. And you built a Claude or Gemini one natural language and it's working, right? So you have a 50% success rate because you tried once and you failed or whatever, or maybe it's partially implemented. And now you're building a second one. On average, HubSpot's reduced that to about 22 to 20% with strategic partners like myself, meaning 1 out of every 5 CRM implementations fails instead of 1 out of every 2, because we help you strategically as the player coach to build that system. So there's just it's a pretty awe-inspiring statistic that half the time it doesn't work. But it's like, but 1 out of 5 doesn't work. I've experienced like 1 out of 150, just so you know. So thankfully my numbers are a little better.
Nice.
So that's for that second audience. I actually would prescribe the same thing. If you have Pardot, Marketo, Salesforce, and you're thinking HubSpot, we need to audit your existing system. How many contacts do you have? How many companies? How many deals? What's your utilization rate? How many people in your team are using the tool or not? And at what seats? Because with that information, I can help you prescribe, like, you need the marketing hub, which by the way is the most expensive. It's like $800 a month, right? It's like, or you just have 5 sales reps. You need the sales hub, and we'll talk marketing later when we make you more money with your sales pipeline and your conversion rate. Or it's like, you need to just do some credit card processing and issue invoices. Well, maybe it's revenue hub. So auditing an external system is actually quite valuable, but it's actually more expensive because it's harder to get into any third-party tools. So I would also prescribe an external third-party audit and then exploring if HubSpot's a good fit. And then for that third audience that has no technology, even though I bet you do, like Excel spreadsheets or paper or a Rolodex, give me a call. Happy to talk as well, because that's where I think you could explore HubSpot or one of these other tools and find what fits for you. So for me specifically, if you're an insurance company, right? If you're an insurance company with like 5 to 50 sales reps, I can help your sales reps close at a higher rate. If you're an accounting firm and you do recurring services for your accounting clients and you're having a tough time managing that, or you don't understand where the flow is, we have a really good accounting case study where we help someone do just that, a manage recurring services tracking process inside of HubSpot for that high-level accounting firm. If you're in the aerospace ecosystem and you're looking at either rolling up other aerospace companies or you're selling high-end aerospace parts to either the government or other private companies, I've done that successfully a number of times as well. And then I really love to help nonprofits. Tavius, I think you heard that before. I try to keep about 10% of my book of business for nonprofits, and I offer a reduced rate to try to help them, but it's still like they have HubSpot and use it badly typically. And if they have something else, it's usually Salesforce, and they can't afford to leave it because these nonprofits get Salesforce for free for life. And now with Claude, I've been teaching a couple, it's not what I do, but I've been helping a couple clients that have Salesforce use Claude to do natural language, to code, to change it because they just can't afford to leave it. So those are a couple good fits, but I would tell you, like, if you have anyone in your audience that just wants to chat about HubSpot or has a question on CRM, myself or my team, we try to give people a lot of time for free to just create a conversation, because I truly, like, we're planting a garden, I'm thinking about long-term returns and really helping people, right? The rising tide truly lifts all boats. So happy to help anyone with any questions when it comes to, hey, I have a HubSpot question, or like, what's the weather in Bozeman, Montana like today? I'm happy to chat.
I love that. I think, I have that same, I think that's why we're really connected. I have that same philosophy where it's like, I just want to give. And if I can give, then something good will happen. It may not necessarily even be you. You may say, you know what, this is not right for me. But the next time someone else run into you, they may have a problem. And they're like, I know somebody with HubSpot. You said, I know somebody. Who is that? There was a guy who's really awesome. Let me find him. Right. Next thing you know, they're hitting you up for that. Right. And I think that's really cool. But when you're not helping people dive into their CRMs, helping with their messy situations and automating it, what do you normally do outside of work? How is Andrew living his life?
All 4 seasons is what I would say. We living life to the fullest, whether it's summertime on the lakes and rivers or wintertime in the mountains, try to get outside as much as possible. We just got a new puppy as well, so we are living puppy life. And it's hilarious.
Nice.
Having dogs that people want to talk to. We had 2 rescues before this, and they were great dogs, but they were one-person dogs. And this new puppy is a many-person dog. She wants to love everyone. So getting to know new people through that dog world. But yeah, trying to live life as fully as we can. Indoors and outdoors, mostly outdoors if we can get out there.
I grew up on seasons and then tried to escape it. And you know what I think it was though? Growing up in Maryland, we used to have snow in the winter and then we stopped and it was just cold. And I'm like, well,
Yeah.
what's the point of cold if I don't have
Yep.
the snow to go along with it?
Yep.
So I ran to
Yep.
Florida.
No, it makes sense. Makes sense. And you can still come fly and play in the snow. But yeah, exactly right. If it's
Right.
not snowy,
Right.
why would it be cold? That's just purgatory.
Well, that's awesome, man. Andrew, thank you so much for coming on here. CRMs and keeping them organized is not my strong suit, right? Talking to people, that's where I am. But I am starting to realize that there's a better and bigger world for people who are disorganized to become organized through the use of CRMs, automations, workflows, AIs, that can make our life a lot easier. And for those of us who just like to run our mouth, we can just do that, right?
That's right. That's right.
Really, really good, useful. So what was the name of that website one more time that they can go to if they want to reach out to you, or what was it, an email that they can reach out to you with?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So you can go to my website, theinsightstudio.com. And I would urge everyone, I actually have a really interesting targeted page. I can share my screen and show you. Yeah, here it is. Check it out. This page helps you understand if you even need this sort of help, right? What is a HubSpot administrator, right?
Nice.
What do they do? When should you use one? And I think all this information really helps you. Hey, should I hire someone internally or not? What should I do? Right. And then finally talk to us because we can help you. And we're here to help. So I would go to theinsightstudio.com. You can email me, Andrew at theinsightstudio.com anytime. And great chatting, Tavius. Wish you and your audience the best of luck and here to help.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much again, Andrew. I really appreciate you coming on here, dropping knowledge, giving your experience through testimonials and actual things that people can start to implement now. And I like how you kind of kept everything at where people are. I tried to kind of like take the Ferrari to the moon real quick. You're like, hey, man, most people aren't there. Like, let me give you a quick tidbit about what happens here. But before you can even get here, like, let's slow it down. And I like that because you're keeping people where they are, but you're moving them as fast as they can go. Not as fast as the system will allow them, because that's what the Ferrari is. But if they want to move quickly because they're implementing and learning, they can. And if they want to take their time because they're older and they're like, I don't know about this, then they can slowly implement, steady, and build up from there. So I like those different approaches when it comes to helping people, man. It's really awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Well, this has been great.
So thank you again. And as I always say, when you find someone who's cares enough to give you their time, just go ahead and make sure you take advantage of it and just say to yourself, you know, if I don't know, if it's a hard no, then it's a hard no. Go to the website and double check that it's a hard no. But if you're in the limbo stage of I don't know, reach out, find out. I promise you, if he feels like he can't help you, he'll tell you that and point you in the right direction of where you can go to get that help if he can. So, and if you have an interesting business in what you're doing, as you see, I love the curiousness of things that, you know, people can go out tangibly implement or just new ideas. Reach out to me at Tavius at fixmyfeesteam.com and I can have you on my podcast. So thank you for another episode. I appreciate you guys all joining me and good night.